What's up? Travel Chronicles. I think it's chapter 60 or 61. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, today, talking about the NBA Finals. They're almost over, right? The bubble is almost done. The first major sports league to come back. They're almost finished with their season, with their championship. And I haven't watched it at all. None. It was on, happened to be on TV, the replay happened to be on TV this morning when I turned it on. I was like, I'm not watching this. I don't care. And it's hard because I like basketball. I like watching basketball. I like watching professionals play basketball because the stuff that they're doing is so hard to do and it's taken so long to master that, like, I appreciate that. But you know what I don't appreciate? Watching a 2.5 hour political ad. You know, everybody's like, well, I don't understand why people aren't watching. People aren't watching because they're racist, because this, that, because... No. People want to watch a sport. They want to watch a sport. They don't tune in to watch political stuff. And if you're saying, well, the basketball's on, you can just ignore the jerseys and the stuff on the court. All right, that's fine. Then you got the commentators saying stuff every 2 minutes about how people are doing this and doing that, how other people need to do this and need to do that, what their moral obligation is. You know, the only people who should go to work and talk about people's moral obligation are preachers. That's it. If I go to work, people don't want to care what my thoughts are about abortion and drugs and others. No. They just want me to do my job. That's why they pay me. And that's what these NBA players don't realize. Like, they're paid entertainers. You're getting paid. Your job is to go out there and play basketball at the highest level possible, and the entertainment takes care of itself because that's what people want to watch. People don't want to watch this other stuff. And Clay Travis made a great point this morning. If you're trying to get people if you're doing stuff to get people who don't like you to like you, then the people who already like you are not going to like you. Right? That's a lot of, like, I mean, you could throw love in there. You could say people that love you aren't going to love you. If you're trying to get other people to love you that don't love you to love you, it's complicated. You may have to stop and think about it. But it's true. Right? And I don't know if there's been a real world, obvious example before, this NBA bubble, but I mean, now it's completely obvious, right? You're trying to placate to people that don't watch your sport, and the majority of players have an interest in this, somewhat, but they're still not out there every day living in fear. Maybe Sterling Brown, maybe that guy. He got actually jacked up by the cops, but the same thing. Like, if they came out with a PSA that said, hey, do what the police tell you to do. And Clay Travis said this morning too, right? He had to talk with his kids, telling them to do what the police tell them to do. And I've had the same talk with my kids. You get pulled over, whatever the reason is, cops stop you, comply. Just whatever they're asking you to do, just do it. Don't mouth off to them, even if you want to. Even if you've been pulled over 4 times in 6 months and it's absolutely ridiculous, and you want to just mouth the crap out of them, just keep your mouth shut. Just do it and get out of it. And as much as you want to just let loose a rampage right at the time, that is absolutely not the right time to do it. Not at all. There's just so many things. They stopped for that Jacob Blake, and that's a guy who the police got called on him while he was there by another black woman who was sexually assaulted by Jacob Blake. She's like, police, you need to come. I need your help. They come, they're tasing him, they're trying to get him to stop. He was like, I'm going to get in my car now. It's like, no, you don't get that option at that point. As soon as she said she was calling the police, that's what you should have done. You shouldn't have stayed there and harassed her more. We can't even call people that do wrong stuff, you got to be able to call them wrong. You got to say, that was wrong. And we do not support that. That's how you get support. That's where you shove people away. It's like, look, what this guy did was completely, totally wrong. You can't do that. Well, he just did it because he's black. No. But this whole Black Lives Matter, how many white people have been killed by police right now? Don't know. I have no idea. It's such a weird narrative, and I know it's because of the election, right? And you just wonder how much it's going to go away, how much it's going to drop off in November, right? And the NBA goes away. The NFL's already stopped a lot of this, right? They've already put the kibosh on a lot of the social justice stance stuff, right? And a lot of the players have, the one national anthem that I seen was the Browns and the Bengals, and they were all standing arms locked together in the middle of the field for the national anthem. That's fine. That's showing unity between the teams. Everybody's aligned for one purpose, but still standing, being respectful. And the key thing here is that you can't do your message at work, right? I think if these NBA players want to have this message, want to have this social outreach, right? Because I think, like Dwight Howard said, he was going to donate his entire check for the playoffs to some, charity or work with some fund to actually help people, right? Because it's easy to put a name on the back of your jersey and just go out and play basketball, but it's hard to put your money and your time into something that's going to help, black kids get through school or get a job once they get out of school or go on to higher education. To have that support, that's hard. Black Lives Matter right there. All right. Well, what about this video where, music video where people are, using drugs and drinking and, showing the highlights of gang life. Like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. No, you can't do that either. You got to condemn all that. All that is bad. All that's a horrible influence. But no, just the police. There's such a disconnect between what needs to be done and what's being done and what has to be done. And in the end, I think this whole thing's going to blow up in their face, and it has. As far as the ratings go, this is the final. This is the lowest rated finals, right? Some people are still in quarantine. They're still at home. They still can't travel. People should be watching sports. If you ever watch sports, right now would be the prime time to watch sports. And people are just tuning out because they don't want to see all the political stuff in their sports. They just want to watch a sport. They just want to watch people go out there and compete. And you can't do it. And that's why people aren't watching. Well, football's on too. Well, football ratings are down too. Well, that's because the NBA. Oh, okay. So there's just a pot that's split. That people can't watch games that aren't on at the same time. I don't know. I mean, it is. It's obvious. It's obvious what it is. Nobody wants to say what it is. It's obvious what it is. And the NBA is going to have to change their ways when they come back for their next season. And they're going to have some hard talks with the players. Look, players, you want to do stuff, you want to have all this, you want to make statements, do it on your own time. We're fine with you doing whatever you want to do outside of the constructs of the game. Inside the game, though, is going to be just the game. The NBA can donate whatever money they want to outside the game. And the players are going to realize this when the money starts drying up, because they're looking at well, we got $24 billion television deal, so we're still going to have money. But you know what? If I'm sure there are certain metrics that have to be met in that contract, and certain ratings have to be met to make it worthwhile for people that are televising this game to pay out that money. And if you're not meeting those ratings metrics, then they're not going to pay you that amount of money. If they're not paying you, then you can't pay the players, right? Because that's how the revenue is. Unless the owners are all of a sudden like, you know what, we'll take less money this year so that the players can still have the amount of money that they need, right? Because the owners want about half. And that goes into, operating expenses of the club, obviously, but then there's a lot of profit to be just made right there. Because it doesn't take, $100 million to run an NBA franchise? There's no way. There's no way. I mean, you're looking at 50 different plane flights, staff, facilities. That's what, it may be like $150 million. Owners aren't starving, okay? They're not just eating bread and water at the dinner table. All right, they're okay. But it's going to be up to them if they want to give some of that money back and let the players still make their money, or the players are going to take a huge concession because the money ain't there, and the salary cap is going to drop. Either the free agents are going to get completely screwed over, or everybody's going to have to take a cut. But that's the NBA side. The other side is the cross-country side. Nice little segue there. Again, nailed it. My son's put himself in a bubble, the cross-country bubble. And I did some looking at stuff yesterday of what it would take for them to maybe get to state. And I think he's got just as good of a chance of making it individually as the team does, together. And that's not to say that, so it's zero. No, like there's a chance, right? Like, so if you take out the seniors last year that were in that regional race and just, saying everybody that's coming back comes back, even though there may be some teams that don't come back. That still scored high. If that would get him to like 31st place. So you need to be 28th to be able to make it to the region or to the state meet. So he needs to make up 3 spots. But in that 3 spots, he needs to also not have like 6 or so freshmen come up there and run. I haven't looked at that. How many freshmen are normally in the top 28? That are just going to push some other people back. So he may move up. I think it's like 18 or 21 spots. There's 21 seniors between him and first place last year. So you take all them out, that moves him up to 31st, and then he just has to have a great race that day to get into 28th. It's probably going to be like more like 35th, 36th by the time you get some other teams in there, and maybe some other people are just having great years. You're going to have to run sub 17, which you can, but like I said, it's just going to have to, everything's going to have to come together that day. So there's a chance. On the team side, when I looked at it, I would say there's probably 6 teams in that region that, providing there's not some extenuating circumstances to the team that are gonna make it to state. Like right now, you can look at that region and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe 1, 2, 3. I even think 1 and 2 and 3 are locked in. 4, 5, and 6. I don't know how they'll finish, but I think you can look at. It's just Unioto's in. Like unless their team goes into quarantine, they're going to be in. Heath's in. Riverview's in. Regardless of how they do, I think they have enough people, enough good runners, even 6 and 7, that if they needed them, that they would still get to state because they have enough good guys running. Then you've got Hebron, Lakewood, Bexley, that are just, they're bringing back so many people that did good last year. They're ranked. And McDermott Northwest. They have enough good people coming back that, like, I don't see other teams leapfrogging them. And I don't even know that they all qualified for state. I think Bexley might have been just on the outside looking in, so I think they're going to be highly motivated too. Because they were one spot away, like 5 or 6 points away from making it last year, and they get basically their whole team back. So I think they're going to be in. So that leaves one spot. That leaves that 7th spot, and it's a 7th spot. And you got a team like Sheridan that's got a guy who's capable of winning the race. Not a whole lot behind. I think it's a lot of freshmen behind him, and they're not like spectacular freshmen either. Then you've got Wasserman. Like, they've got another dude. They got a guy that's going to make the state, but they don't have a lot behind him. They got a lot of seniors. You know, those guys come out. Now, they didn't run there last year either, so they're missing a year of experience for them other guys. They get caught up in the race. I think they're beat. And there was one other team, Jonathan Alder. I think they beat Wasserman, but I think Jonathan Alder doesn't have like the same, stacked lineup that they normally have. I think they got a couple of good kids, but 3, 4, and 5 are maybe not as experienced, and that team might be beatable. They don't have the same number of returners either. I think they have like two of their top 5 and maybe 4 of their top 7. But I would say Martins Ferry is probably 10th. Minerva's ranked somehow, so theoretically Martins Ferry is the 11th best team in that region right now. I would say they're probably 10th. And if they're going to make a run to state, they'd have to beat 3 teams. They have legitimately 5 guys have to have a great race that day. And that's, Elijah still may have to run a state race, or Wyatt may have to run a state race. One of those guys, or Francis or Trent, one of them guys may have to run a state qualifying race just to get, for a team to make it and not have any state qualifiers. I don't know. I don't know if that's even possible, numbers-wise. You're looking about 220 points to make it. You have to be under 220, and that's some mathematical gymnastics right there. All right. Well, I'll see you later. Be careful. Be COVID free.